All right, we're here with Chopping It Up with Buck. We're at the Vintage Whiskey and Cigar Bar. I got my man Jay Walker, former college Hall of Famer. He's always telling me how good he was at Howard. Former NFL quarterback, and I also have Andre Ware from right down in my hometown of Houston, Texas. Former U of H Cougar, played in the league for a number of years. We all now work for ESPN, so I had to get on these quarterbacks because I'm always talking ball. But these guys know a little ball. How you doing today?
Good, man. Glad to be here with two of my favorites at ESPN, and we've been around longer than a lot of them. That's for sure, man. It's to hang around and do some good things. But glad to be here with you guys.
We became OGs. Like,
no doubt. Like you were
OGs.
Now you like my OG. I'm one of the OGs. Like, oh man.
But guys, I mean, that's the thing. You know, usually when I do Chopping It Up, we just go one-on-one. But I thought this was nice to talk about the quarterback position because you guys have seen the evolution of the quarterback position when you guys played it.
Yeah.
Now you call it. And it's interesting when I watch the young cats because they don't always know the history. We were talking a little bit earlier about working out with the Oilers and seeing Warren Moon. But even the guys before that, Doug Williams, you know, Shaq Harris, all the guys that you know well. Tell us about your experience growing up and playing the quarterback position.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, for me, there were guys like Andre came out ahead of me. So I remember having a college coach say, man, you can be like Andre Ware.
Yeah.
And prior to that, it was you could be like Doug Williams. You could be like growing up in LA, Vince Evans with USC. Warren Moon, one of the Godfathers, Randall Cunningham. So those were those guys. But, you know, I really didn't get it at the time. Because, you know, it was like I was just competing with the time I knew. I was like, okay, all I knew was there was a white guy out there. I had to be twice as good. And this is in 1988, 89. You know, local schools wouldn't even look at me because of the color of my skin. I couldn't
I knew about you from Paul Richardson, who I played with at UCLA. Peebo, whose son now is playing. But Peebo was telling us about Jay. I was like, who's this Jay Walker cat?
So Jay slinging it around in Cali.
So it was that evolution. And now, you know, I'm glad. The quarterbacks today have it a lot easier than we ever did. Ever did. But it's guys that laid down that foundation. We tried to carry it. And it's a different generation. You can't blame it. Times change. You know, my dad used to talk about having to walk 12 miles to go to school. I never had to do that. It evolves that way.
So what about you?
Yeah, you look at it and it's just one of those things where, as I could echo what Jay was saying, when you're in it and you're competing, I think at the time that I was at Houston, I was the only African American quarterback on the roster when I got there. And so you're competing, and I'm just trying to win the job. I didn't really think about it from the standpoint of being the only brother. I was just trying to win the job. And then later in my college career, you win a Heisman. They tell you, hey, you're the first black quarterback to win the Heisman. I don't know that it settled in then, but it certainly does now, and I know the significance of it. And you start, as Jay mentioned, you start looking around the league and around college football. You hope you had a little bit to do with opening the door for somebody else to kind of step through and made it their path a little bit easier than yours.
Follow up on that. I mean, I counted the numbers. When I got to the NFL, there were 6 black quarterbacks in the whole league.
Backups and everything.
Backups, we knew, and we all knew each other. And who they were.
That's the interesting story. How many times were you told when you played Pop Warner or high school ball or even college that you should change your position? That's a big thing.
I got ready to go off to college and thought I'd found a school in going to Houston that was going to give me the opportunity to play quarterback. Well, they were, but I remember working out in the summer back at my high school, and not one of the coaches that was on the varsity, but one I played for as a freshman, who asked me if I was ready to switch positions when I got to college.
Oh, wow.
And they knew how passionate I was about playing quarterback, how I strategically went about visiting schools and choosing the school that I was going to go to because I would just want the opportunity to play quarterback. And he hit me with that one day. And I've always said it during interviews, but I never called his name. And I'm pretty sure he knew who I was talking about.
And those are the things, the micro things that happen that we remember. You know, you remember a teacher that tells you, hey,
motivation. See, you use it as fuel. You use it as fuel.
What about you, Jay?
School I dreamt of going to, University of Washington. You know, Moon went there. We're from the same part of LA, and they told me I was going to be a better linebacker than my cousin was, and I never even played defense at all. Never played defense. They said, you'll be a better linebacker because, you know, my size. And I cried and just, you know, it was motivation.
Same similar situation. I grew up wanting to go to Texas because of Donnie Little. He was the first African-American quarterback to play at the University of Texas and went to my high school. So my whole plan was to follow in his footsteps. Texas came in. My high school coach called me and he says, "Hey, what position you want to play in college?" I'm like, "You know, I want to play quarterback." He says, "Well, the next time that guy from Texas comes in, ask him what he wants you to play. Defensive back." Never backpedaled in my life.
I think I know who was recruiting you because they recruited me. The same guy. I'm not going to say names, but I've said it before. But I know who you're talking about. You know, guys, when you think about that, when you get to college and then you have to compete, that's a whole nother situation. Jay, you were fortunate to go to a HBCU like Howard, but still you have to figure out a way to get to that starting position. What was that like for both of you guys as you got to college?
Man, you know, for me, I always knew, and my confidence, you know, they say quarterback's a confident position, right? And the one thing, you have confidence in different ways. One thing I always thought, because my baseball background, was I've never seen anybody in my life throw a football better than me. So that was my confidence. So I was like, when it comes to competing, hey, if somebody would have been there and outthrown me, they might have took my heart. Yeah. But I was like, I can throw better than anybody. You know, I didn't meet anybody I thought could throw the ball as well as me till I became a pro. And so that was a conversation. I'll just let the throwing go. And once I learned the mental aspect of the game, I thought I'd be all right.
Yeah, baseball background as well. I use tennis to help develop my arm strength, which is tell a lot of young kids these days that it's the same throwing motion. I've served a lot of backhand, so it basically builds all the muscles to throw. I do it with my son now as a baseball pitcher. But going there and competing, I just felt like I had to be twice as good as everybody else if I was going to get the shot. Knowing I was the only African American kid on the team at that position. I don't know about Jay, but when I'm competing with you, we're not friends. Yeah. You know, if I'm competing with you at quarterback to win a job, we're not friends till it's over and I won. Then we can be friends. Yeah. But and if somehow I didn't win, win the job, then we probably still weren't friends till I started playing or overtake you at some point. But I looked at anything I could to motivate myself. I used it, and if we were, it's checkers, whatever it is, we'll be friends when the game's over, but not while we're competing against each other.
Yeah, and I think we all know how to compete, but that's the one thing. Who was a coach or influential person that you kept going to when you needed that? Hey, you got knocked down here, or things didn't work out for you there. Who were those guys that were influential to both of you?
Well, I think back then, because we were working out, we were in the same city, and I looked up to him. First guy to sign, I think, $1 million contract to play the position. It was Warren. Yeah. And you just, hey, how do you handle this? And he was such a sounding board that
he's been like the godfather of the modern.
He is, and he's easy to approach. Always has been. We actually run a foundation together now where we give back to kids that grew up like we did from single parent homes, and so we've had a lot of success doing that the last couple of years, last 3 years or so. But he was kind of the guy I would go to when you feel yourself getting frustrated or you needed somebody to just bounce some ideas off. He always had the right answers.
Yeah. He was a pro, Warren Moon. I can say Moonshine as well, but James Shaq Harris. So Shaq and my father grew up together in Louisiana, and so when he was out there playing for the Rams, I always knew who Shaq was. And so he was big in my life in terms of telling me you got to compete twice as hard. I hadn't heard that phrase until I heard it when I was like 6th grade. So I was like, what are you talking about, man? Twice better. So I would do that. He'd take me to community colleges when I was in junior high and high school to get ready for the speed of the game. So I owe a lot to Shaq Harris. James Shaq Harris.
Well, when you think about it, guys, and I love Shaq Harris. I can remember him when I was getting drafted. He was a scout. He's been around the game for a long time. When you made that transition from college to pros, I know walking into the first locker room, I'm like, okay, I got to compete. I'm in the New Orleans Saints locker room with Ricky Jackson, Sam Mills. I know I'm gonna have to compete every day. What was that like for both of you guys as you step into that NFL locker room from college?
I think that's probably the tough part. Speed of the game is real.
It's
real. It's real. But I went out to mini camp, rookie camp we had, and I was kind of torturing him in rookie camp. I was torturing him. I think Parcells was like, I got to see how good this guy is. So he called in some of the backups that were on the team before, and I remember throwing an out route. This is a 5-yard out route. We've hit that pass many times before, and I threw it, and I was like, why is the DB jumping on the pass? And he just missed. And I was like, if I didn't throw a perfect ball, it was pick 6. So I said, oh, these dudes is fast. You got to make sure it throws. And, just had that confidence. So I think a lot of times the hardest part about my rookie year was I was coming from being the player of the year, one AA player of the year, black college player of the year, and then everybody but me knows I got to sit the bench. Because I was like, nah, I'm going at it. And then, but the reality of the business was I was going to sit the bench. Period. Till somebody got hurt.
It's hard to swallow.
That's hard to swallow.
Yeah, coming from the same
He went behind.
Detroit, and I'm getting urged by the offensive coordinator.
And you think it's a perfect
hold out.
situation.
He's telling me to hold out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's telling me to hold out because you know this offense because they were running the run and shoot in Detroit.
Yeah.
Needless to say, he was setting me up the whole time because they weren't planning on playing me as a rookie. And you go in there. Matter of fact, the first game of the regular season, I walk in the locker room thinking, hey, I'm getting ready to suit up. There's no uniform in my life. I'm like, equipment manager telling me, hey, you're down this week. What the hell does down mean? I don't know what down is. So where I'm from, you're on a team, you suit up. I had no idea what that meant. I was deactive the first week of my rookie year. But you go in and you just start to compete. And all that's all really you ask for. It's a level playing field. Go in and compete and just let the chips fall as they may. I don't know that really happened for me in my years in Detroit.
You know, that's an interesting thing because I know a lot of guys that were in Detroit and they've said the same thing. But as you look at it, how did you guys both make the transition? Played in the NFL, and we all know no one plays as long as they want to. No matter if you play 20 years, if you play 10 years, if you play 2 years. But what made you say, I want to go and call games and work on that craft? Because that's not an easy thing to transition to, as we all know.
Well, I'll let a guy remain nameless, but I'd taken my car on a Saturday to have his service. And I was watching an Oklahoma State game, and a guy was calling the game. And I was sitting there, and I just left my office to do it. I had a whole totally different secondary career, so to speak, doing writing apps and programs through Lotus Notes, and just really successful in what we were doing. And when I saw it, I was like, I can do that. And because of his lack of engaging into the game, I knew that was something I could do. Got back to my office and I started making phone calls and trying to put myself in a position to do exactly what it is that I'm doing today. And 20 years later, knock on wood, I'm still going and still rolling at it.
What about you, Jay?
I mean, there's no roadmap for how you get into this business. You know, you got to know some people and take advantage of the opportunity. Mine almost was a humbug. Howard Homecoming, and they said, "Oh, it's Howard Homecoming. You're going to be in town during an off week." I said, "Sure." You know, I'll try it. So I went out there and was a sideline reporter, and it's like, "Oh, I know this like the back of my hand," but I didn't study. And I tell you, I was terrible. I was terrible. I mean, I was so bad, I was embarrassed. I thought, I was doing a good job, and then I went and watched it, and I said, "Oh my goodness!" But when my coach called me and said, "You know what? My wife saw something there." She said, "You know what? You got a presence there. There may be something there if you work at it." So I went to ask the guy, I called him up and said, "I'm sorry about my performance. I will study. I'll have it bound. Next year, give me another shot. Next year, give me another shot." He was like, "I don't know, Jay." I mean, this is the Howard game. I was that big. He said, "I don't know." And then the next year, I came and did it, and I prepared for it. I studied. And then he said, "I've never seen anybody improve so much from 1 year to the next year. Keep working at that." And
that's the thing about it. We all know that. How many guys have we seen in our time in this business together that come in, you get in the door based on name recognition, but if you study, you stay. How many have we seen that didn't study and try to just do it on what they knew, and the next year, even 1 year in, they're not back. So that's I guess the great equalizer, whatever it is you want to call it, is just being prepared like anything else that you've ever done. It's like when we play football. You go out and have your best games when you prepare the best. Well, this is no different. You've got to prepare.
And it's not like, I think, and you know this too, Buck, you can step in. It's like when you're good at your job and you study, you make it look a whole lot easier than it is. And when other athletes get there, like, "How did you do that? I can't take somebody talking in my ear. I can't." Did you study? Did you prepare? Like, I know the game plan almost like I'm playing. So that's what it is. So I think it's a compliment when the longevity we've had, because I've had many people say, "I tried to do it and I couldn't handle it."
1 year in and they're looking for the.
We're gonna take a break. Chopping it up with Buck. We'll be right back.
Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger. I'm a threat.
I'm Andre Ware, and I'm privileged to be chopping it up with Buck.
This is the Vintage Whiskey and Cigar Bar. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've got Jay Howard, Jay Walker.
That's what Bill Parcells used to call me. Jay Howard.
Jay Walker from Howard, HU, and Andre Ware.
The Heisman
from University of Houston.
I call him Heisman. That's Heisman.
But no, I mean, you know, and the good thing is, who have been your mentors in the broadcasting industry? I mean, just like all of us have had people that have kind of helped us along the way. I can remember when I first started, Doc Walker, a former UCLA guy, Terry Donahue said, "Hey, you need to talk to Doc Walker. I think you guys are similar. Y'all like to talk." But he also said, I want to set you up with Coach Vermeil because Dick Vermeil was doing it, so I got my boards from Dick. And I just started.
So did I.
Yeah, I just started talking
so
to
did
him.
I,
So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Dick Vermeil had this big old board, Jay, and
I got it at home.
Yeah, and I used to use that consistently.
We were talking about it today in the seminar about handwriting our own boards, right? That's who I got the board from to start handwriting was Dick Vermeil. He sent it to me, started handwriting on it, and got a bunch of boards printed out.
Yeah.
Still have them under my desk in my office to this day. If I ever decide to go back to handwriting, I'm ready.
I still have a box of them. Now he's a Pro Football Hall of Fame coach, Dick Vermeil. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting who passed things down. What about you, Jay?
I'm gonna brag on Howard. It doesn't take much for me to brag on Howard, but going to Howard, playing in Washington D.C. in the media market, so like George Michael, Sports Machine was down the street. So I was on the Sports Machine, which was rolling, and then James Brown, being in D.C. JB, I would call him once a year. Gus Johnson. Went to Howard, so Gus would do it. We got Glenn Harris, who's a local legend there. So Howard, the media thing was big there. Then George Johnson, I don't know if you remember, George Johnson called games for BET, but those guys would always have their eye on me. When James Brown called, said, I saw you call a game the other day. You're pretty good. I was like, really? And then when Gus Johnson, he'll say, man, I saw you call a baseball game like you know what you're talking about. That's good. So I think the HBCU network really embraced me. Those guys there in particular.
For me, it was easy. Guy that went to the University of Houston, one of the best. I think voices, one of the best at doing it. Jim Nance. That's who I really leaned heavy on early on. He kind of showed me the ropes about putting tapes together and hiring an agent and this, that, and the other. And then Spencer Tillman helped me out a lot as well. He actually gave me all the notes and packages that we get, how he kept all that stuff and just dumped it. Hey, go through, find nuggets. We'd meet for lunch and I'd have to show him what nuggets I found that I would use in a game, even though I'm not calling one. But that was the prep leading into the actual audition. So it was two pretty good heavy hitters.
Yeah. We're going to take a break. Chopping it up with Buck. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, I'm Giannis from the Vintage Whiskey and Cigar Bar here in Charlotte, North Carolina. The guys from Chopping Up with Buck had a great time here tonight. Heisman Trophy winner and ESPN analyst Andre Ware and former NFL QB and ESPN analyst Jay Walker had an awesome time here tonight, so you will too. So come on down to the Vintage here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy, Jay Skywalker from Howard University, HU. Right now, we're chopping it up with Buck.
Welcome back to Chopping It Up with Buck. We're at the Vintage Whiskey and Cigar Bar. I'd like to thank Giannis, who owns the place, runs the place, and gave us some really nice Placentia cigars. I mean, they are really good. Nice. If you're in Charlotte, you need to come over to 215 East Worthington Avenue. Great spot. Even before I got a chance to do this, I would come here. I always miss Giannis, but I'm happy to have you guys. I told you it'd be good to come in tonight. He does specials. He's gonna tell you more. I mean, he's got a lot of membership opportunities, but a great place to come and hang out.
Nice spot. It's a real nice spot. It's a really nice spot.
So, guys, as you guys were talking about mentors, what have you seen with the game, and who are some of the kids that reach out to you? I mean, I know Dre. I was watching the game where you were calling, the kid from UCLA who had an opportunity to play, and you were talking about him, and I'm watching the game, watching him, watching you and Jay. I know who are some of these young guys that come and kind of seek counsel as well.
For me, it's a natural bond because I cover more HBCU sports than anybody. So all the guys going to the next level from HBCUs, like we're a small fraternity. So in recent years, it's been Tariq Cohen, who played at North Carolina A&T, Darius Shaq Leonard, who everybody's proud of him, South Carolina State also, NFL Rookie of the Year. Those guys, Jacoby Durant, who just got drafted. So I make it a point to, like, every one of those guys, they have my phone number, they can reach out to me, they call me. We talk. I ask for favors from them. They'll do it. They're good guys. So I think that's been my community in terms of mentorship.
Yeah, it's for me. It's more the same. More guys that have gone to the University of Houston, getting ready or preparing themselves. I speak with the captains every year before the season starts, and I try to keep in touch and just check in on them. They may an injury or something like that. That happens during the course of a year that you can't help it happens, but you want to check in and make sure that they're doing well and they stay on the right track.
Yeah, that was Chase Griffin I was thinking about. Yeah, you were calling the game when he got an opportunity to play. Who are a couple of the young quarterbacks in the NFL that you kind of watch? I know you call Texans games, you keep in touch with the NFL game, I do as well. Who are a couple of guys that you see that have that capability, that next level?
I mean, it's in terms of guys I like to watch, who I like to watch. Like, I'm still a Rodgers guy. Aaron Rodgers, to me, he's still like, and Mahomes does some special stuff. But that's not. But I think, for me, purely like playing the position at the highest level, like I like to see what Rodgers does next. That's my guy.
Yeah, I keep an eye on what Lamar Jackson every single week.
So I couldn't run like that. So.
Freakishly talented, both throwing and running. The first guy I saw, and when you're outside and you're throwing the ball, you could get a ball to whistle when the wind's blowing. He was the first guy I saw. I covered his pro day that they were inside in the bubble and the ball was whistling. No wind. And that's when you know it's tight and it's coming. And then you mix that with his ability to pull it down. That's who I would pay money to go see. If I had to go pay to watch a game, I want to see a caliber guy like that.
You know what else? It's cold-blooded because when you talk about his pro day, it made me think about it. And I don't know how he does it, but Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
I mean, he normally,
just a winner too.
Us quarterbacks are the kind of big. We got those guns. I don't worry about a smaller dude having a gun like mine. He got a gun.
Yeah, he can sling, and it's tight.
It's big arm to be
Daddy
that
was
small
Kevin
and can
Murray,
run.
played at A&M, who got hurt. He was a multi-type player, football,
Hurt his
baseball,
ankle. Ankle injury.
tore his ankle up.
Yeah.
He was when they had that wrecking crew and everybody else. So his daddy was a hell of a player, but he does some special things.
He does. I cover Kyler as a baseball player.
Yeah.
When he was at Texas A&M playing, and they're like, he's going to be a great
amazing
football player too. I was like, okay, I thought he was a smaller guy. He does it. I always tell kids, you're only too small when you're not good enough.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's always been good enough and great. I mean, one of the best players in Texas history.
Great baseball player.
Yeah.
Obviously won 4 state championships at Allen High School in Dallas, and then went on to Oklahoma, won the Heisman.
Yeah.
And then now he's getting Arizona in the playoffs. It should be there pretty much every year going forward.
They got to give a shout out to off the field.
Yeah.
Nobody does it better than Russ.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
And I called. I'm gonna tell you this. I called Russ's games when he was at North Carolina State. And I Dana Bible, who I know pretty well, was telling me. He said, "Hey, this guy, when he gets a chance, he's gonna be special." And I kept telling people in the barbershop. The barbershop does the barometer of BS.
Yeah.
And the cats were like, "Russell Wilson." I'm like, "I'm telling you." But when I shook his hand, he got big hands, long levers, and he played multiple sports.
Yep.
That's the other thing that I want to ask you guys. We all play multiple sports. All the guys you guys are talking about play multiple sports. Why do coaches force kids to only play one sport and not let them play at least a couple to get those skills?
I think it's more. I think that happens on the youth level, and so you're dealing with guys that didn't play multiple sports, and they think you have to specialize at an early age. Now, I make sure that my son's playing more than one because I don't want to burn him out in one, and I want him to get the benefit of hand and eye coordination from playing one, speed from the other, different attributes that fit whatever sport that he wants to engage in. So you go from there.
Hey man, I told him I'm here doing a podcast at Your Spot Vintage, and we on the air right now. And I said, "Oh, Deuce is big timing me now. He don't want to pick up, but at least you called back." I said, "The Bites are gonna call back, man. How you doing, man? Say what up to Arbuckle and Andre Ware."
What's up, Antoine?
What's going on, man?
Hey, all right, I know retirement treating you good. I'll call you when we finish this up, man. All right, Bison. That's Bison, man.
See, you guys, can you call him Bison from Howard?
Yeah,
you call him Cougar.
You call him everybody's Cougar.
They went and played it.
Okay.
What do you miss the most about?
Let me go on that answer because my son, plays two sports. He plays basketball and lacrosse, and what I've learned is every coach likes multi-sport athletes till he can't be there to make your game.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I got to choose a basketball tournament, lacrosse tournament. Oh man, I love he play lacrosse, but he's not going to be here. No, I need him here.
Yeah.
And lacrosse. So as a dad, I think more parents got to get involved. And say, I'm going to pick what's best for him.
Yeah.
He can't make 100%. I tell him he's not going to be 100% all your tournaments. Certain years he may be, but these coaches are divided.
I had the same thing happen with my son. He plays baseball and basketball. And there's a huge basketball tournament in San Antonio, and they had a so-so tournament in baseball. Well, I made the decision to let him choose, and he initially said baseball. Morning of, I'm getting ready to drive to San Antonio. He's all teary-eyed wanting to go with me. Let's pack a bag. I called his coach. I'm like, he won't be there today.
Yeah.
And now it's the same thing with him. Well, he's our best pitcher. You got to make it without him this weekend.
Yeah, I'll be the bad guy. Be mad at me, not him.
Yeah,
that's why I put it on me. Like, hey, I'll be the bad guy.
Well, it's funny you say that. As we have sons and they grow up, who else? I mean, you guys have coached other kids. You coach your own kids. But what is it about coaching that you have taken from what you learned to help those kids that you now coach, mentor, and develop?
I just try to do it through life skills and use examples of coaches that I've worked with or played for. My high school coach, everything was about what the game would teach you so that you can transition into life and be a better citizen and give yourself a chance. And so any young man that I'm working with, his parents know that I've got his best interest. When they're with me, they're mine. And I love them and I coach them hard and I put my arm around them. But they know that they're going to give me, we're going to put the work in to get better. And so that's the one thing that I learned from my high school coach. It does not take talent to play hard. And so if you just play hard, you're going to make plays. But if you don't give me the effort and you don't know what we're doing, it's going to be tough for you to play for me. That's the day one speech.
That is. What about you, Jay?
I don't have the patience to coach.
Yeah.
I always knew that. I don't have the patience to coach. So I'm kind of but all my kids are athletes, and so I'm saying the same thing. I just want you to work hard. If I'm going to take time out of my day to get you to practice from 4 to 6, them 2 hours, leave it all on tape.
That's right, exactly.
And then afterwards, I go back to daddy duty. So, but I never had the patience of it. I respect the profession.
I took
so
some
much.
advice from him with my own son, from
Find
him
somebody
dealing
else
with
to-
his. Exactly, because his son's older than mine, but he said 2 minutes in the car.
Yep.
After practice is over, after a game, you get 2 minutes.
minutes.
You got to listen to me for 2 minutes. Once the 2 minutes is up, I go back to being daddy. Back to being daddy, and that's worked out, man.
That's all.
It really worked out well.
One of the things, too, people always ask me, what do you miss the most about football?
Sundays and Tuesdays, we get paid.
Tuesdays especially on Tuesdays, man.
The locker room is the one thing that I think.
Nothing like
the
it,
payment
man.
is great.
Yeah,
But
it's
the
nothing like the
room-
locker room.
But one thing you got that's unique with having, me and Dre here, like, as quarterbacks, there were times I was jealous of other people in the locker room because they could go out and do things we couldn't.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Bill Parcells told me, hey, you're late once as my quarterback, I will cut you.
Yeah.
He's like, the rest of the guys, they can do that. So I was like, what? So I was always the type of, we had to be leaders. We got to be the CEOs when sometimes.
Setting an example.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being a worker bee every now and then, but I would say, the locker room, some of those relationships you make, I wouldn't trade those in at all, but, it's a business.
Some of the
It's a business.
stories, just some having fun,
Oh, man.
cutting up in the locker room, whether it's before practice, after practice, that's what you miss about the game when it's all said and done. you don't get those back.
Yeah.
Great memories, but you can't relive that in any other facet of life.
I wouldn't mind having one more round in the locker room with John Randall. John Randall, we both were wrestling.
He was crazy, wasn't he?
Yeah, man, we were wrestling with each other. I'd be like, I'm the $1 Million Man, and you Virgil. And he's like, I got $1 million. You don't. We go at it, and some of those guys. Corey Stringer was probably my favorite too. Man. Big
Randall was a good one.
was a good guy. So,
Well, we're going to take one more break. Chopping it up with Buck. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, I'm Giannis from the Vintage Whiskey and Cigar Bar here in Charlotte, North Carolina. The guys from Chopping Up with Buck had a great time here tonight. Heisman Trophy winner and ESPN analyst Andre Ware and former NFL QB and ESPN analyst Jay Walker had an awesome time here tonight, so you will too. So come on down to the Vintage here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
I don't think they running at my pace. Jordan won it.
All right, we're back on Chopping It Up with Buck at the Vintage Whiskey and Cigar Bar. Got some great sticks. Go to Humidor. The drinks are good. Giannis will take care of you. Everybody here has been outstanding, and I'm glad to have Jay Walker, Andre Ware. We're down to the 2-minute drill now. These guys love this, and I love that because I know I'm gonna catch a pass. Easy though. I don't ask any real hard questions, but I'm gonna ask you a couple, and I want to hear your opinion on this. So, Megan Thee Stallion or Beyonce?
Ooh. What mood am I in? Ooh, man, that's a tough one there. He did say he was coming hard, didn't he?
Megan.
Say Megan
Thee Stallion.
Okay.
I'm 6'4", man. I'm 6'4", 230, I'm a little pretty boy.
She's 5'7" now.
Yeah, but hold on.
I don't want to take Jay off, so I may go Megan Thee Stallion.
I like the Stallion, boy, no doubt.
What's in the Spotify or Apple Music? What you listening to now? What is going on? What you listening to right now?
I'm all over the place when it comes to jazz.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, contemporary jazz, anything. Pretty much anything. Najee is my favorite.
Kirk Whalum from Houston.
Kirk
is
Whalum,
bad boy.
Paul Hardcastle is more real contemporary, and I've listened to it while I'm playing golf.
Okay.
So we're in the golf cart together. I got the speaker that mounts, and that's
fine.
just me. It keeps me mellow.
I got Kendrick Lamar and Dr. Dre.
All right.
I don't go wrong
Going
with
back
that.
West
There
Coast.
you go.
I'm always Kendrick Lamar, Dre, and I just downloaded the
G-Funk era.
Yeah.
I just downloaded the DJ Quick's greatest hits. Y'all
I know exactly what you're talking about. Please.
DJ Quick, bro.
He's a young buck in this, on this show.
So we got down to we marching down the field. You guys are doing well. 2-minute drill, y'all understand. We're getting close, but you got to find that tight end on the corner route. So this question tells you if you got a corner, you got a guy coming up, the smash concept. Do you look for the deep guy first, or you go to underneath first?
I'm just reading the
down.
I'm reading the corner. If he doesn't drop off, I'm done. If he drops off, I'm dumping it. If he takes the upright, I'm gonna find the guy going on the corner.
2-minute drill, down and distance.
Okay.
If I'm trying to keep the drive alive, okay, but so every now and then you got to bait him and have that cornerback stay close, make him think you're taking the hit, and then I'm gonna stick that dang 7 route.
I love it. But you see, I want that 7.
You want that
We're down. We're moving down. What you watching now? What you streaming? What's the stream?
Yellowstone.
Oh,
Which he turned me on.
on that.
Yellowstone is I can't wait till it's coming
Binge
back.
watch it and get through that,
Who's the
baby.
best character in there?
Oh, Rip.
Rip is Rip.
Man.
But who has the best lines?
The daughter, I can't remember her name. That's
Beth.
something else.
You're the trailer home. I'm the tornado.
She is something else, man.
Kevin Costner's bad.
He playing with
And what is the other one? The spinoff of that? 1893?
1892.
Like that. That's a good show.
You know
as well.
they got one coming up again, 1932.
Yeah, they got
Be
a
all
lot of
around,
ground. Yeah.
That's good TV.
So we're marching down. We're in the red zone now. You got to throw it to your tight end. So when you get in this situation, do you want 12 personnel or do you want to go 10 and spread everything out? I know you run a shoot guy.
Now give me heavy. I go heavy.
You go heavy?
Yeah, I'm the guy. But my senior year, my fullback scored 20 touchdowns.
Oh, wow.
I throw the ball 90 yards down the field. He get the last 5.
Let him tap it.
That's who I am.
Bring it up. Yeah, I just believe in whatever got me there, I'm going to stay in.
Gotcha,
So
yeah.
if we're marching down the field in 4 wide in that formation, we get down there. Hey, keep them spread out.
Yeah.
It's easier to run the football. It's easier to pass protect because it's essentially man on man up front.
Andre
We can
goes,
put you in the slot though.
Andre will go shotgun on the 1 yard line, whether it's negative or positive.
I can't stand shotgun. Never took a shotgun snap until I was in the league.
One thing, too, if you could have dinner with one family member that's gone, who would that be?
My pops.
Yeah.
My mom.
Yeah. He saw a lot, and I think when Dre was going through with his mom, whatever, I was like, hey,
Yeah.
look at what she got to see you accomplish.
Yeah.
So I got to remind myself all the time. My dad, he was 47 when he had me, so
Okay.
he was older. So he saw, but he never got to see the father I became. So I wish I had.
Yeah, you kind of hit on a nerve there. My mom got to see a lot of it. My dad didn't because my dad passed when he was 31. I was 6.
Okay.
And so I'd love to have had him at my games, been able to kind of bend his ear when it was over, when games are over, and just from a father standpoint of you kind of doing this thing on the fly.
Yeah.
Have him around to ask him, bend his ear a little bit on, hey, what'd you do with me in this situation? So I can pass that down to my son, and then have my son have a relationship with his grandfather as well. That would be pretty.
My
sweet.
grandparents, of course, but my mom's mom died when she was 13, so I never got to meet her.
Wow.
But I heard great stories about her.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to sit down because she looks like all of my mom's sisters and her
What is
son.
it about like grandmothers, man, especially in the black communities, because they're so strong-willed. They hold families together. I had the same relationship with my grandmother.
Yeah.
We would go fishing, and I was told you got an old soul. And I picked it up from her.
Oh, yeah.
Doing a lot of fishing and just talking while we're sitting on a pond somewhere.
Yeah, well, the beautiful thing is my dad's mom showed me where my mom's mom was buried. So I'd go ride my bike out there when I was in Beaumont, just go sit there and talk to her.
Yeah.
Sit there and talk. Well, we scored on that one, man. We scored on that one. Finish it up. That's great. Good to have Jay Walker from HU. And Andre Ware from University of Houston. Yeah, it's been great to have you guys, man. I appreciate it. We are, again, at the Vintage Whiskey and Cigar Bar. Had a great time. Giannis, thank you. Thank you for the sticks. Thank you for everything. That was our episode of Chopping It Up with Buck, quarterback edition.
Hey everyone, I'm Giannis from the Vintage Whiskey and Cigar Bar here in Charlotte, North Carolina. The guys from Chopping Up with Buck had a great time here tonight. Heisman Trophy winner and ESPN analyst Andre Ware and former NFL QB and ESPN analyst Jay Walker had an awesome time here tonight, so you will too. So come on down to the Vintage here in Charlotte, North Carolina.